You never want to be that guy in the gym who looks like he could bench 405, maybe even more, but looks like he can't squat 405. So I'm going to be giving y'all some free sauce, some free tips on how you guys can improve your squat in 5 easy ways. So let's go ahead, jump right into this video. So when breaking it down into the squat, it's important to note that the squat is a full body movement. There's so much that goes into the squat that if you don't respect that and understand that, your squat will hit a certain point and no longer continue to go up. So my first step that I'm going to recommend you guys go over is look at your foot positioning. Now this is going to be some form tips. I could go over more like accessory based stuff, movements to get a stronger squat in another video, but today we're just going over form tips. But so yeah, the first one, look at where you're standing. Look at your feet stance. Now I've seen people squat with their feet literally as wide as you can imagine, almost like they're doing a sumo deadlift. And I've also seen people squat like they're almost standing together. Whatever works for you is ultimately just what works for you. You don't need to follow what anybody's telling you to have a good squat. For me, I like to stand with my feet about shoulder width apart, and I found that moving my feet in even a little bit more can help me more. I can hit a depth a little bit easier, and I can also grind through. So it's all up to you to find that good foot position, learn how to web your feet, find that good foot position, and where you're strong from. Going on to step number 2, find out where that bar is going to be on your back. Now, if you can't keep that bar sturdy on your back, you will never get over probably 500 pounds. You know, the right person with enough potential can do more with this weight, right? Now, I just saw some dude, he used to be like 300 pounds. He probably still is 300 pounds, but right, like he squatted 600 pounds and the bar was rolling on his back. Now he's squatting 800 pounds, literally like within a year. So fixing something like that can blow up your squat by 200 pounds simple. You need to find either it's going to be high bar, which your hands might be a little bit closer, or low bar, where your hands might be a little bit wider, bars down more on your back. But you need to find how you're going to chalk, how you're going to prepare, how you're going to do everything to make sure that that bar is not going to move up and down your back. If that bar is moving on your back, it changes the whole dimension of the lift. It makes you need a whole new level of balance to even stand up with that. At a certain point, if you can't balance, the muscle and the strength can no longer take over for you. It has to be make this bar sit in one spot so the strength just goes on with it. Going on to step number 3. This is something that people are going to be like, oh my gosh, no way. But you know what's the truth? Hitting depth on your squat. Now, the secret to a bigger squat is actually hitting depth. And why do I say this? Because you could continue to squat more squatting high. If you want to do a quarter squat, you could probably squat 1,000 pounds. But at some point, you will get hurt. And if that some point is when you finally have to hit depth because you want to go and compete, or if that final point is just because one day you just load too much weight and you got no spotters around you and you actually go down to a spot and you can't get out of that hole. Those are serious injuries that you need to avoid. So for step 3, I just got hitting depth. And right, a lot of people struggle with hitting depth, especially beginner lifters, because they can't find a way to get that low. Now, I recommend to just about anybody, if you are having ankle mobility issues, you could get a little 5 pound plate, maybe 2.5 pound plate, slip it under your heels, stand on that, and then do a squat. That should help your ankle mobility. If you're like in hip, quad, knee mobility, just stuff like that, if you're just a pretty immobile person, so many people online now go over stretches. You know, probably 20, 25 years ago, powerlifters probably never stretched. You know, I've heard some videos, uh, Big Poppy Panora, something like that on Instagram, said that literally up until like 12 years ago, he never saw anybody stretch in the gym. And lifters are much healthier now. You know, stretching does pay off. So you need to stretch, you need to be able to hit depth. And that number 3, hitting depth, will just reduce injury by crazy. You know what I'm saying? Training to a lesser standard too will go ahead when you go on the platform and you'll just be very devastated. Now coming up on number 4, making sure that you're even. I see so many people squatting and the bar is uneven on their back. And it's understandable because on the squat, it's that one lift where you can't really see how you're doing on the bar. You know what I'm saying? Like when you get under that bar is just on your back. But a lot of people do, your shoulders are typically pretty tight. Your rear delt, your front of your shoulder, everything's pretty tight. Your elbows may hurt a little bit when you get on a squat bar. So you can't really tell that. You may have your hands perfectly even on the rings, but when you go under the bar could be completely off on your back. Now that is like a big form tip that I recommend to everybody. Get somebody behind you, and USAPL, Powerlifting America, IPF competitions like that, that you cannot have somebody behind you telling you if you're lined up or not. I mean, maybe if you ask a spotter, maybe. But if you just get somebody with you in your training, you're on your off season, get behind you, line up the middle of that bar with the middle of your spine, and you should eventually start slipping into that way. But if you're squatting with the bar over and the bar is like this, but you don't even realize it, eventually you will start slipping to get the bar up, or you will start doing compensation on one side. You may start twisting. Being uneven when squatting is huge and is definitely something you want to try to avoid the best you can. I understand shoulder issues, the rest of that, but there's other ways to avoid being uneven than accepting the unevenness. And because uneven, for me at least, I've dealt with that since like last year. And when I was slipping, like twisting during my squats, that was what kept me from hitting 685 for all the weeks that I tried it. I was very uneven, I was very unstable, and that was partially because of muscles that I wasn't working, but that was also because my back wasn't getting warmed up properly. So I needed to start warming up my back properly and evenly to start hitting these squats and taking them perfectly even, not with the bar on one side of my back or anything, and just go down and up in one fluid motion. Now that brings me into the fifth tip, which is pretty simple, but somewhat detailed, I guess, but it's where you're going to put your knee sleeves. Now, a lot of people will buy new, stiffer knee sleeves and they'll leave it really down low on their leg. And so if they flip them up, it's only covering a certain point of your quad. And this can be used for all types of lifters. You might want to just click off this video right now because you hear step 5 is, oh, I gotta see where I'm putting my knee sleeves. Well, no, I mean that's like a worldwide thing. I noticed that myself that I was doing that today. I didn't pull my sleeves up. I went from my safety bar squats to my regular bar squats. I didn't pull my sleeves up high enough. And on my first set of my regular squats, I felt the sleeve pushing down and I wasn't getting the full rebound. The way that sleeve works is it stretches as you goes down, right? So it's like this and it's going to stretch. There's elastic material in here that's stretching as you go down. To keep that stretching as good as possible, you need to have that evenly on your leg. And I see a lot of people squatting with low knee sleeves, and I just wonder, like, do they know that they could get more elasticity out of the knee sleeve if they pull it up a little bit higher? So that's like super technical, but I see that all the time. That's just another one that's kind of like back spotting somebody and seeing the bar being uneven, kind of like them wearing a knee sleeve and their knee sleeve's way too low. You know what I'm saying? And that also goes for wrists. If you want to take care of your wrists, you make sure that you put that wrist wrap up until here on your wrist. You won't put that wrist wrap around your wrist and you stop here. You put that wrist wrap up until here because you're trying to prevent this motion. While putting it right here, you still get that motion. You may limit that motion, but you're not like stopping that motion. You put that wrist wrap up here, you really limit that motion. So this is another thing. Make sure your equipment is on properly. I guess I should name that for number 5. But that's all for today's video. Go ahead, drop a like, comment, subscribe. Blake Wendt signing out. Peace.